Imagine there's a big deadline approaching and you require an important report from one of your employees and you feel like you've already reminded them 3 times and they still have not delivered. Or maybe you constantly feel like you have to micromanage and you're a bit worried that you're not going to be liked anymore and that you're doing something wrong. Holding people accountable can feel quite difficult, but in this video I'm going to share with you 9 practical steps on how to hold your team members accountable. Hi, I'm Anne and I'm a former engineer and senior leader in the manufacturing industry. And now I'm a leadership coach for emerging leaders and an expert for team development. On this channel, I regularly publish videos around self-leadership, leading people effectively, and how to build effective teams. Make sure that you subscribe right now so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. From the experience with my clients and also my own experience as a leader, I know that it can sometimes be tricky to hold people accountable. It's always a bit of a difficult way to gauge of how much micromanagement you should do versus how much you should just let them be. You don't want to annoy them, you do want to be liked and respected, but you're never quite sure of how to navigate this. In the essence though, it's important to hold your team accountable because it will make sure that they are successful, the team is successful, and in the end, of course, the organization is successful. Holding people accountable means that they deliver the objectives to the right quality standard and the right time as you have agreed on. There are certain things that sometimes might get in the way of holding people accountable, and it often has to do with ourselves because we feel a bit self-conscious when we have to approach difficult conversations, when we have to show consequences, and when we also maybe sometimes lack clarity ourselves. But avoiding accountability can have consequences for you and your team because underperformers will think that they can just get away with it because that's just standard that you set, and your good performers will start to get frustrated and even build up a grudge towards the other people and feel resentful, and they will lose motivation at some point. So let's look at these 9 steps of what you can do to hold your people accountable going forward. Tip number 1 is all about being accountable yourself and leading by example. You have to do what you say you will do. You have to deliver on time and to the right quality standards. If you're consistent, your team members will know what to expect from you, and they will also know that you will follow through with what you say. Step number 2 is about setting clear expectations from the start. So when you take over a team or when somebody joins your team, make sure that you set the right expectations from the start. These are expectations around the standard of work, how you will interact and communicate, how often you will follow up, the frame of your one-on-one meetings, and also other expectations that you might have. Setting these expectations from the start will avoid you feeling like you don't have control and frustrated because they are not delivering on what you expect, and it will avoid that they are confused and never able to actually meet your expectations. Step number 3 is to define clear roles and responsibilities in your team. Who are the people that hold certain processes and are responsible for these results? And who are the key contact people for certain topics? Make sure there's no confusion around who owns which process and who is accountable for which result. Step number 4 is to then define your performance goals and standards for your team and every individual. Here it's important to define your key objectives, but also the key results or milestones along the way so that everyone has realistic goals and milestones to work towards as they work throughout the year, throughout the month. Making sure that these key milestones are achievable and realistic and also measurable makes it easy for everyone to be transparent about who is achieving their goals and how far they have come. Make sure that there's transparency around these goals amongst your team members and in your team so that everybody knows what they're working towards as a team. Step number 5 is creating meaning and impact for every individual. So here you want to tie in their goals with their personal desires and performance and achievement goals, with their personal interests, and also tying it into the organization objectives and showing how their goals will have an impact for the organization. But even if you can create an even bigger meaning and impact, this might have on the environment, on the world, or on the industry that you're working in. If you provide an individualized meaning and impact of the goals and results for every individual, that will mean that they will feel way more motivated motivated and inspired to achieve this goal. Step number 6 is then to get commitment from them. And here it's important that they define which objective they will achieve by which time. Here I would break it down in smaller steps and smaller goals because that will make it easier to commit and also to follow up. So you can ask them which time frame or which time on date will work well with your schedule to complete this next task. And that way, it's in their hands and they have to really think about a realistic time frame that doesn't collide with any other commitments and doesn't collide with any other work that they already might have. So this way, it's about them thinking about a realistic time frame that they can get it done, which is then easier to follow up on. And they don't feel pressured by having too much on at the same time. Because in this conversation, it could also then come up to reprioritize certain objectives. If you are not happy with the time frame that they're setting, then this gives you the chance to discuss what you can move around and change in your priorities. Then write down this commitment and agree on a follow-up plan. And so then step number 7 is to actually follow up. So here consistency is key. You have to follow up whenever you said you would. You might have regular one-on-one meetings, which I do recommend, by the way, and you will have to know when you will check in on these goals. Some people might need more or less supervision, and you can adjust this on an individual basis. And you don't have to follow up on every single goal in every one-on-one meeting, but it's important that you regularly check in. It might feel annoying for you and difficult for you, but if you don't follow up, they are not going to report back on things that they get stuck on. And so in these follow-up conversations, you can also then ask them about the progress, but also if they encountered any roadblocks or how they are going to progress over the next 2 weeks to get that recommitment on this goal or priority. Step number 8 is really about providing regular feedback, positive and negative feedback. That needs to be timely and very specific. So whenever you observe something that either shows whether you've used their strength and done something really amazing and great, or where you've identified a room for improvement and a development opportunity, then make sure that you provide this feedback timely with specific examples so that they can really take it on board and adapt it on the go. Don't just wait for your performance review at the end of the year or half a year. If you observed something, say it to them pretty closely to when you observed it. Step number 9 is about keeping them accountable and managing the performance. So if they are not on track, you need to act. But I always say that I genuinely believe that everybody wants to do a good job. And if they're not doing a good job, there is a reason for it. So as a leader, I encourage you to stay curious to understand what is going on. Focus on the context. Try to understand whether it had anything to do with you not clarifying the objectives enough, with prioritization issues and the workload. Maybe it had any changing milestones or goalposts in the project, and so they had to work on other things. Or maybe it's some external factors, they didn't get the support from other stakeholders, or also maybe they have some private issues that they're trying to get through. So try to understand what is going on and then start to see of how you can support them and coach them through finding a solution on how to get back on track. You want to identify the root cause for them struggling with completing the task on time and then coaching them through it and get their recommitment on the actions they want to take. So make sure that you ask them what they have learned from this and what they are going to do to complete this task in the future. So get them to recommit to their actions that they will take and the time frame that they will set. And then again, you got to start following up again and you continue the same cycle. So these were the 9 steps, and I want to provide you some general tips as well. The key here really is to be consistent with these 9 steps. The success lies in the follow-up. You will have to follow up so that they know that you are tracking the performance and that you are aware of what's going on. That way they will feel more committed. From my experience and working with my clients, I know that accountability often comes down to the issue with consistency and not following up, because there is a fear of micromanaging or not being liked or being too pushy. But you have to figure out a way where you can follow up regularly on what you have defined with every individual. Most of the time, accountability issues resolve once you show that you take this accountability serious and that you are following up. But at the same time, obviously giving them the room to committing to their actions and defining their strategies to get there. so that they feel the real ownership of the issue. It might take time to get to the root cause of why people are not staying accountable or not performing. So you have to be a bit patient and rethink of ways to connect to the person and understand what is going on for them. In general, though, I believe in a strengths-based approach and in the positive view and the positive lens of looking at people. And I do believe that everybody wants to do a good job. And if they're not, there is a reason for it. Good luck. Let me know which step you found the most helpful. Let me know if you're going to try it or what other questions you have when it comes to accountability. More tips on one-on-one and feedback conversations are up here, and I'm looking forward to seeing you soon.